Welcome to the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. This is a show about the past, present, and future of animation and all things related, hosted by former Disney animators, directors, and authors Tom Bancroft and Tony Bancroft. This podcast is sponsored by taughtbyapro.com, the place on the web to watch art instruction videos by the top pros in comics, animation, character design, and concept art. In this follow-up to the Brothers Hash It Out episode where they claim to fix art schools, Tom and Tony invite a group of artist friends to discuss their reasoning, disappointments, and successes in their art school choices. This podcast should be a mandatory primer of any artist considering going to art school. And watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube. And now, here's the Bancroft Brothers.
And welcome back to another Bancroft Brothers animation podcast. How you doing, Tony?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing pretty good, Tom. It's good to be here tonight. We're having a late night tonight.
I know. And you know what? I'm going to warn everybody. It's going to get glitchy because we're recording this completely differently than we normally do. And so it's over Skype. And so I think you've already just broken up when you said that weird intro. So I just want to warn people that it's going to happen.
Yeah, you sound like we'll warn people. That's what
I hope I
like.
did it. Do I sound like that? This is gonna be
a little
the
bit.
worst
It's gonna be like that,
podcast
though. Yeah.
ever.
So we'll see how this goes, and we may never do this again. Who knows? But it's the great experiment, and Tom and I are into experimentation in a clean way, of course, but an artistic, creative way. We're experimenting a little bit tonight on the podcast.
Went down a dark road. But welcome, everybody. And we do have some guests we're going to intro in just a second. I kind of have a bad feeling this is going to be unusable because you just broke up a couple times. But let's keep going and let's just have fun, right?
Yeah.
So we do have some sponsors, and let's get into that because it's super late. I worked out today, Tony. I'm exhausted. I'm putting on a smiley face, but I don't feel it at all.
But you look like Lou Ferrigno. You look like a very sleepy.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Yeah,
I'm so tired.
Yeah, my shirt's off right now, and I can see you're looking at my ripples. So try not to look too much.
All right.
Okay. So tonight we do have sponsors, and first of all, it is Stuart Ng Books. Stuart Ng's got so much going on right now. He's constantly putting out updates. I want to kind of do a shout out for everybody to follow and get on his newsletter list. And that's going to be the best way because we're all constantly getting emails at least a couple times a month from Stuart about new products. And that is the best way to stay informed.
I usually delete a lot of my emails, but when I get a Stuart Ng email coming in and it's an update, I'm like, check it out. I'm going to spend 10 minutes on this, just perusing what's new and coming out.
Okay. It's so hard not to then click something and go to his website and check it out and go, oh, okay.
And you get lost down that rabbit trail of checking out books and looking at different things and the new stuff. Oh, I've been there. And as this probably releases, this podcast, it's probably around July and Comic-Con time. So that means that Stuart Ng is probably at Comic-Con. If it's before Comic-Con, I'd recommend you going down there and checking out Stuart Ng Books in person and go up and down the aisles. And I bet he's probably got some great artists at Comic-Con signing original books for you too. So you can check that out. He's really good at getting signatures too in all the books.
Tony, we're probably right there right now signing. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's the weird reality that we're in right now. We're talking right now, but in the future, we're actually at Comic-Con doing a signing. Future
Bancroft Brothers are there, and we have hair.
Yeah.
Technology has changed, and somehow we have hair.
That's in the past. If we were the Bancroft Brothers in the past, we'd have hair. Actually, we're the Bancroft Brothers that have nose hair, incredible amounts of nose hair growing out of our nose, and we need to trim.
Oh, I don't like those Bancroft Brothers. At least I'm still really fit in the future. Okay, so also, Tony, we have, you tell me, who else do we have, Tony?
We have Sketch Wallet, our good buddy Ralph Thomas.
Can you pick that up?
Called Sketch Wallet. It's a leather-bound wallet that you can put your money in, your driver's license. I'm actually going on a trip on Wednesday. I'll be taking this baby to the airport because I love to doodle people while they're sitting there, picking their nose, waiting for an airline, getting a flight. I got to go flying, and I'm taking.
Right.
Ooh, What'd you do there? I got it in my sketch wallet. And I also got my $3 that every animator should have in my sketch wallet, and my license and everything like that. It's ready to go. Pop it in my back pocket. Love it.
Tony. That's the $3 that your lady lets you have. That's what that is.
That is.
I like how you almost called it the sweat wallet. I want to buy the sweat wallet. That sounds good too.
It breathes. It's leather. So if you smell it, rawhide.
All right. And they're, of course, coming out soon with a Kickstarter that'll have the new Canvas sketch wallet. So look for that. Ralph has not told us when that's going to happen, but when he does, we're going to tell you guys. And you're going to back that because that baby's going to be hot.
It's going to fly like flapperjacks off the flapper.
All right, Tony. It is late. We have some people here that it's even later where they live. So let's get into this. So tonight, guys, what we're doing is we're talking, and actually, I'm going to back up and just tell everybody, this is the second time we've done this. We actually had all these people plus one or two more recorded for a great, and it was a great one too, man. We talked about art schools. So this is Art Schools Part 2. It should be Part 3 because we lost everything that we did on Part 2. So this is like 2A. Art Schools 2A. That's what we're calling this.
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to get in a little deeper into what we started in Art Schools 1. It was a Hash It Out where Tom and I talked about, I think we actually boldly called it the Bancroft Brothers Fix Art Schools. I don't know that we really did, but maybe tonight we're actually going to fix them. We're going to get perspectives from a lot of our artist friends. A lot of our artist friends that are here tonight. They're all our Patreon patrons. And so they help support the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast. We want to thank them for doing that. And one of the ways we're doing that is bringing them on the podcast tonight. So I'm going to go around you guys, and I want you to introduce yourself and welcome to the Bancroft Brothers Podcast.
Okay. And now let's start. I'm gonna point to you. You can't see who I'm pointing to, but I'm gonna call out a name, and then you say your name, where you live, and then maybe what art school you went to and when. Okay, so let's start up here with Hannah.
Hi, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I went to the Art Institutes of Portland.
All right. And when was that? When did you leave?
2014.
Okay.
We don't know. You could be wrong, Hannah. It's okay because we don't know.
All right. Our other female, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Saunders. I'm a 3D artist. I live in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And I've gone to the Center for Arts and Technology. I graduated there in 2011. Then I went to NBCCD. I graduated there in 2013. And I'm currently at the New Brunswick College of Craft and Design, and I graduate there next week.
Yeah!
With a master's degree, right? Wow.
I should have a bachelor's degree, but they're all actually diplomas, and I've gotten a couple of advanced certificates as well.
Okay. All right, Isaac, you're up.
I'm Isaac Ramos. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I went to New Mexico State University, lost it there for a second, in 2012 and left in 2013.
Okay. So you guys are much more recent school grads than we are. Now, how about you, Shane?
Yes, I'm Shane Soul. I live near Louisville, Kentucky. I went to CCAD, which is Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio, for my Bachelor's of Fine Arts. And then I went to UCLA for my Master's of Fine Arts and graduated there in 2004.
Dang.
Shane works in the industry, and you work for...
I'm working on The Simpsons right now.
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done Family Guy too, I guess, in the past, right?
Not on the show, just consumer product stuff I've done.
Oh, right.
Yeah, before Simpsons was King of the Hill.
Okay, King of the Hill. And he's a storyboard artist, primarily.
Yeah, layout.
Right?
Yep, layout.
Oh, okay. Layout too.
Right.
Yeah, and children's books. Whatever. He's always working. So, and then Tony, just to wrap that up, Tony and I, this is Tom. Tony and I went to California Institute of the Arts. We only went for a year and a half, so a little embarrassed by that. But we got a job at Disney, and they paid us to learn from that point on. So we kind of took that deal.
Yeah.
But went to Cal Arts, and and that was back in 1988, 89.
Right. And we started at Disney, I think I want to say January of 89, wasn't it? Or was it? Yeah. It was like the beginning of the year of 89 that we started at Disney. But and I think we talked about that, Tom, in our last Hash It Out about schools, that it really points to why you're going to that school, why you're going to that art college. And for us, the goal was to work at Disney, to get a job in the industry, really. I think Disney, I don't even know if that was really a potential on our radar at the time, but certainly to work in the industry. So that was our motivation. And when the opportunity arose, we did it. So we were not about getting a degree. So I think that's a good way to start this out for the group here, because so many of our listeners are either right where you guys are, or maybe before you guys, where they're like coming out of high school thinking about what college to go to, or they're in the middle of school right now going, is this going to pay off? Am I going to get a job when I get out of here? The quick question is, why did you guys go to the college you went to? What was your motivation?
Awesome.
Okay.
You can go in that order again. Hannah?
Oh, great. I wasn't here for the last one, so I don't know what the rules are.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I went to. So I did a little weird thing. I didn't want to pay the 4-year college prices for college, so rather than just going out of high school, I started college when I was 14 at PCC. It's a community college. So yeah. So I grabbed a 2-year degree before I headed on to George Fox University, where I got a graphic design degree. And I guess the last class I took was an animation class, and that's when I realized I was in love with animation. So all my scholarships went away, and I had to kind of work for a little while before I earned up some money to go to the Art Institute.
Well, I just want you to know, animation just called, and it said it loves you too. Yeah. So, but yeah, okay, so that's good. So yeah, you did take a different route. Now, obviously, would you say that your goal was, I'm going to school, 1, to learn, but 2, to get a job? Maybe not even in that order.
Yeah, actually, the goal was law school. So
Wow.
Okay.
yeah, I
That's a
was
big
going.
change.
Yeah, I was going for like a religious degree, and then I got there and I realized I really felt called to art, and the graphic design department had the best teachers, and I loved it. But then I got into graphic design to work for a little bit, and I realized it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Well, and that happens a lot in college. I mean, they say that most kids actually change their major when they get to college. There's a lot of experimenting and trying to figure things out. So I think that's okay. I mean, really, it's kind of where you land. That's the most important thing.
And now, Nicole, let's broaden this question, because that's what's happening kind of naturally, which is, why did you go to school? Why did you pick the one you picked? And sort of what were the goals behind that? And did they change along the line?
Yes and no. Like, I decided I wanted to be an artist when I was 5. We went to Disney World. I said, I got to live here. They said, no, you can work here. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be an artist and work for Disney. And that's just kind of what I've been working towards since that moment. And when I got into high school, I spoke to my guidance counselor and I said, okay, I want to be an animator. I want to be an artist. And they only knew about one school in my area. And unfortunately, it was a for-profit school. And a lot of things happened while I was there. We lost a lot of teachers. A new school opened up and all the teachers went there. So it was a very difficult couple of years. But the goal never changed. And, I'm really glad for those relationships. I love the teachers that I really got close to, and they were very much the benefit of going to that school. But now that I've been back to school again, I'm in love with the school I'm at now, and I feel so much more value going to the school. My goals haven't really changed. Like, I now have a job in the industry, and I've had it the whole time I've been in school. So I've been very fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 3D modeler, right? So I just do that for a local company. But once I got back into school, I realized the biggest employer in town was actually the military. They do a lot of virtual reality and 3D modeling and stuff. So the
Mm-hmm.
goal kind of shifted to, yes, I want to work for Disney someday. That's my big dream. But, the military has a job and they're paying good money. So, tailor your work for them and get in with them. And I did. It was really amazing. So that's kind of
You,
the
you're
path.
enjoying what you do there? You enjoy
Yeah.
that work?
Yeah.
Great.
It's
Oh,
it's
good.
an internship program, so they take students and give them the 2 years of experience that they need to get out into the industry. And they're very helpful and kind, and you get a mentor the whole time you're there. And then and it's a student program, so you're still a student while you're there, so you receive another diploma. And then once you graduate, then you go out and look for another job, but you already have that experience you need. So it kind of opens
Wow.
doors for you.
So, and because it's the Canadian government, they're very nice and they're helpful and all that. Good. Okay.
Health benefits along the way too, from free
Absolutely.
healthcare in Canada. Yeah, I think I remember this now from our last podcast with you. We all want to go to Canada now.
Yeah, it's because the school that I'm with now is a government funded school. So because I chose this school this time, the New Brunswick College of Craft and Design. The government actually pays my tuition, and I'm being paid to
What?
be a student there this year. So they're paying me to
Oh,
go to school. That's my job right now.
That
wow.
is crazy.
Yeah,
You know what? I trained Tony his whole career and I never got paid for it. So
No,
that is
no.
such a ripoff.
I still
Uh,
want money back on top of it.
I think a lot of the time people
doing
don't
right.
realize how many scholarships or opportunities that are out there because almost everyone at my school could do the program I'm on, but not a lot of people apply for it because they just don't know about it. So like students that are out there right now, definitely look and see what's in your area because you could get paid to go to school. You could have an amazing internship opportunity you just don't know about because you haven't looked it up yet.
Yeah,
That's a
and
great point.
some of that is in the U.S. too. I don't know if it's quite as juicy, but I mean, we all know there are grants and things like that in the U.S. too. So, Isaac, okay, what was your school experience, and how did you pick that one, and all that?
yeah. I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for right off the bat. I knew that I had wanted to go for like video games whenever I was younger. I think probably about 7th or 8th grade, and then another point I wanted to go for youth ministry, and it just kind of flip-flopped between those two things. And I mean, I'd always grown up drawing and everything, and my cousin was going to the school in New Mexico, New Mexico State University, and he was actually in this Creative Media Institute program within the school. And I got online and I started looking through their classes and course program and all that kind of stuff, and was just intrigued with all of the titles. There was 3D modeling and creating characters for animation and 2D, beginning 2D animation, like all those kind of stuff. And I was just like, this sounds amazing. Still didn't know anything about the program or the school other than just the courses that they had. Didn't know anything about the professors. And I picked up, and 2 weeks later I was in the school and working on animation projects. So for me, it was a really quick turnaround, just kind of guessing, really. The only research that I did was into what courses they had. They didn't really have much of a demo reel or anything like that of what students had done before. At least I didn't know to look for it. They weren't asking for any portfolios at the time. They are now, but they weren't then. And so it was kind of just, I slid into the program and started learning animation through them. Started with 3D and wasn't really interested in 2D at all. And then I started working on my first 2D project and yeah, I know, immediately fell in love with 2D and still wanting to learn and know 3D, but having a real appreciation and desire to do more with 2D.
And sub question to that: did you feel that when you sort of fell in love with 2D correctly, did that help your 3D? I mean, did you feel that there was a correlation between the two pretty well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially with posing,
Mhm.
trying to find that clear pose. And I mean, in 3D, you kind of have it for free. You gotta like pose everything just right and then get the camera right and then it's there. But in 2D, you have to think through it and draw it and redraw it and figure it out. And just, it helped me think through the 3D stuff all the more.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, and we're going to get back to all three of you guys on, okay, now what did it all live up to what you were hoping it would? But Shane, let's talk to you. And I really want to hear about why you decided to get the master's degree. Because I get a lot of people asking that question is, I've already gone through all 4 years at SCAD or whatever. I'm not getting work, or I feel like if I got a master's, I would get work. So I have a feeling that wasn't your reasoning, but let's hear what your thoughts were about how you picked your school and all that.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I started off at CCAD, which is in Columbus, Ohio. At that time, Disney was still releasing a real short list of colleges that they would recruit from. And geographically, I just looked at it and thought, okay, CCAD is the closest to where I'm originally from, Indiana. So that was.
Wait, Shane, can you run through that list real quick? The ones you can remember.
Oh,
I think people would be interested.
I'm sure RISD was on there. I'm sure Ringling was on there.
CalArts.
CalArts, of course.
Art Center, I think, in California.
Yeah, possibly. Those are the only ones that I can kind of recall. But I ended up going and checking out the school, and I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. So I attended there, and I went in knowing I wanted to be in animation. I think since Ariel, Little Mermaid came out, and I saw Ariel and everything, I was infatuated and said, okay, this is what I want to do.
You said, I want to play Kane.
Pretty much, yeah.
Spoiler alert, she's not real. Okay.
So I've always spearheaded that, knowing I wanted to be in animation, and went to CCAD, and when I graduated, I just felt like I wasn't quite to the point where I was ready to be done learning. And I knew in getting my master's, I could create my own films, which is something I wasn't able to do at my undergrad. And I knew once I got in the workforce that would almost be impossible with trying to keep up with a normal work day and doing stuff on the side, at least for me, would be very difficult. So I also wanted to get out to LA. And so when I looked at UCLA, I really liked their program at the animation workshop at the Theater, Film, and Television School. And I applied for them and got in. And so that got me out into the LA area. And I also got to continue my animation education and began interning at Film Roman. And I stayed there almost throughout my entire master's degree program. And as soon as I graduated, I started working on King of the Hills. Like I would graduate on Friday and start working on a Monday.
Wow,
nice.
That's great. Do you
So
feel
the
like
master's degree paid off.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I don't regret doing it. I really enjoy doing it. And like I said, there was many different factors why I decided to go that route. I don't think that it's necessary for anybody to specifically get their master's degree, but if that's one of the things that they're looking for is an opportunity to do their own films and to continue learning without the pressures of your daily job, that's like definitely a way to go is getting your master's degree.
Well, Shane, it sounds like you went back because you wanted to cook a little bit longer, right? You felt like there was stuff you wanted to do, you didn't get a chance to do, and I get that. And by the way, I want to find out.
Bread in the oven? Is that what you're relating him to?
Yeah, he was a little doughboy, not fully cooked.
Well, that's what I think is unusual, Shane, is that most people will say, "Oh, I went for the degree because either one of two things." Usually, my parents said they would pay for it if I got the degree, or two, I really wanted to get the degree because I knew that was the only way I could teach later on if I wanted to teach.
Yeah,
you're out there on your own going, no, I just wanted to have the freedom to be a student longer and kind of enjoy exploring my, creativity a little longer in the school environment, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I deep down I do love learning and I do love teaching. So eventually that might be a route that I'll go is actually be a teacher. So that's
Yeah,
nice to have
well,
the
at
master's.
At Lipscomb University in
Right.
Nashville, my friend.
So
That's
it's nice to
comfortable,
have
right?
the masters. Yeah, it's nice to have the masters already with me. But I mean, the stuff that I learned at CCAD and the stuff I learned at UCLA just exponentially took me, to exactly to where I needed to be, I think. And so
Yeah.
it made a smooth transition into the industry.
And now, so sub question, because a lot of the other people that are listening are thinking, I need to get a master's degree because it's going to help me get a job. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah,
Is anybody
yeah,
say, oh, I see you have a master's degree. You're in.
right. No, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I've met people in my career that have graduated high school and gone straight into animation. So that's definitely not a golden ticket to a job, but it does help you learn more and possibly help you introduce to more people within the industry or create another network of people that will work in the industry that you can pull on later while you're working in the industry. So.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's a good point, Shane. Absolutely. And I think for Nicole, you've done quite a bit of school now too. Have you seen the same thing, that it's helped you to grow artistically the longer you've been in school? Is that your motivation?
Yeah, that's kind of the reason that I keep going back to school. Like, I'm not getting like bachelor's degrees or master's degrees. They're all just diplomas. But it's giving me the opportunity to be in a creative environment. And something a lot of people don't know is, you won't have the opportunity to be as creative for yourself once you get out into the workforce, because you're always making something for someone else. I go to work every day and someone puts a design on my desk and I have to work off that design. But while you're in school, you're working for yourself. So you can, have projects you're really passionate about and you really want to work on. So you're given that time to work on what you want to see come out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would say that's sort of the highlight of school, is that it's that time to do just whatever comes up in your head. Hopefully they'll get you a good grade, but basically you're doing, what you feel is the right thing for that assignment, hopefully.
Or in the case of Tom, you end up working on your brother's film because you can't finish yours in time. Oh,
I had overthought my film just a tad and ran out of time. And yes, this happens in college to many, many people. So be quiet. And you needed the help too, my friend, Tony.
I appreciated you coming on board and helping me with my vision. And we kind of did that later on in Mulan. So it felt like a warm up, really.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I've seen our little short film from our freshman year. And by the way, I looked at it. I did more than half of that film, my friend. So
thank you for the free slave labor.
Don't get me started. Got me a job. Anyway, so let's go back to Hannah. I had a question. But there's a side effect to going to school that not a lot of people think about. And what it is the friends you make. Okay. So, and not only because they're the geeks just like you are, and they may be the first ones that you meet and you just stay up all night watching cartoons, and how awesome is that? But also that they go off and get jobs, hopefully, and the rest of your career, you're hopefully staying in contact with them and reaping the benefits of having those friends in the industry. For those three of you, because I have a feeling that's happened to Shane because he was in California, but for those three of you that were outside of California, and maybe Shane too, because his undergrad was outside of California, has that been a benefit or what? The friendships you've made?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that's the primary thing I got out of doing art school as opposed to self-study, is that those friends they have been and continue to be invaluable. Like, we have a really strong knit group here in Portland, and I think you can access it without the education because we have a CIFA and we have other groups that are connected to that, and all you need is kind of talent around here and you're in. But the students themselves and the teachers helped me so much. I know that I had to drop out of college because of health problems. They actually asked me to leave because I was fainting on the train on the way in, and so they're like, "Oh, that's a health danger." So we want you to do is drop out. And my department head was so sweet. She said, I know this place in your hometown that is looking for animators, and I recommended you to them. So go over there and talk to them. And
Wow.
got me a nice, cute little job.
That's sweet.
And it was cute too.
Oh,
Yeah.
we worked out of a barn. There was a farmhouse. I was offered oatmeal on my first.
Oh, I know that studio. I've met that guy. It's out in the kind of the wilderness area, right? Help me out here. Who's the owner?
Portly Pig. I don't think it's the same one. It was a really tiny.
There's
it was
a
like
lot of
two
animation
people.
studios out in Barnes, Tom. You just don't know that.
Are there really? Oh, I'm thinking of Canada too. I'm sorry. So, yeah, I got you and Nicole confused.
She's from Portland. Yeah, she's from
Yeah.
Portland.
Yeah, no, this is in Canada. Okay, Nicole, how about you? Have you seen benefits of your friendships and jobs, opportunities?
Absolutely. Like, it's stuff that's still affecting me now. Like, I've only ever gotten one job off of a cold call. Every other job, it's been someone knew me and they like, oh yeah, well Nicole's crazy and we'll take any job and we'll work her butt off. Even like one of my lead instructors had a business where he would go out and we do caricatures, which was a lot of fun and we make some extra money. But then people would be taking my business card, which had my website on it. So just being out in the public with him got me a lot more exposure. And I had another teacher that was great at my first school, who's now my lead instructor at the school I'm at now, and he's always coming with us with new opportunities. We have a Facebook group and we're always sharing jobs between each other. And then there's this group, you know, all of us. I think this is probably the closest group I've been into, and just being able to shop every month is one of the highlights of my month. So.
That's cool. Yeah, for those that don't know, we have a Patreon reward level where Tom and I spend an hour each month with this group, and we've been with these guys for a long time. A couple others too that couldn't make it here tonight. Shout out to Dylan Holden off the top of my head and some others, but we really have grown close because of that, which is why we wanted to do this podcast with these guys tonight as an extra reward, but also to get different perspectives really on everybody has a different experience when it comes to education. I'm interested, guys, has anybody dabbled with online schools, and has that been an extra benefit, and how does it compare to the brick and mortar school experience?
And we'll start with Isaac, and since we skipped him.
Yeah, I've wanted to get into an online school. I've looked into a few different ones, but I've done Aaron Blaze's courses that he has on his website, and just gone through the videos and just followed him, and like it's an amazing content.
Or the paid ones?
No, the paid ones. The fundamentals of animation and his character animation course, I think. Also like anatomy and character design. I think I've got all 4 of those. He has sales all the time, and it's just he's incredible just to learn from. And so I mean that's the extent of the stuff that I've gone through, but I've talked to Dylan a little bit about it, and he encouraged me to look at CGMA, the CG Masters Academy, I think. And and I've looked onto that. Hopefully be able to afford that in the near future, but that's something else that I'm going to be considering as well. Looks like they have some incredible stuff.
Is that a mentored program?
I think there are options where you can either do mentored or the pre-recorded videos, which that's what I'm looking for, is the more mentor type classes that I can have feedback.
Just an aside real quick for the listeners out there. When we talk about online colleges, there are these different kinds, right? And I think we would all agree probably the biggest benefit is the ones where you get a connection with somebody that is a mentor that can. Am I breaking up? You guys are looking at me funny.
No, we just think you're weird.
Okay. Okay. This is a tough one for me tonight, guys. Thank you. I love Skype. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think many people wonder, you know, what are you really doing when you're online? But the ones that are real successful, I think, are those ones where you're really connecting with somebody one-on-one, because that's what you get in the brick and mortar school. But the online one, you can usually connect with somebody that's even at a higher skill level than a lot of your teachers in the brick and mortar schools. They're usually people like Aaron Blaze or
In the industry.
yeah, Jimmy Choo and all those guys that are really at a high level of excellence.
Tony, it's Bobby Choo. I don't know who Jimmy Choo is.
I like Jimmy Choo. He makes a good shoe and pork chop.
So Bobby Choo is at schoolism.com if you want to check that out. Shane, how about you? Have you tried any of the online art education?
Yeah, I've done stuff with on Taught by a Pro, which is your website.
That's my company.
Right. I've done stuff with Schoolism, and I think that's pretty much. Oh no, I've done Aaron Blaze's stuff too. Like I said, I love to learn and just continue to get better. So a lot of times I'll have them running while I'm working, and I'll rewatch them, or I'll take notes while I'm working. So it's just a way to, even if you know it, to take a refresher course or to learn new things. So I love. I'm not looking for like degrees or anything. I'm just looking for just that continued knowledge.
And I'll jump in on that since you mentioned Taught by a Pro. I'm the president of taughtbyapro.com, and we have we do a lot of video stuff where we have you can upload or buy the video for a character design class that I taught, or Tony has some squash and stretch and animation classes, and we even have some Ruben Aquino and other great industry giants. But we're also getting into what you guys are talking about, that more one-on-one kind of an experience. And Tony's teaching a class right now. He just wrapped up tonight, as a matter of fact.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
With a group of what, like 12 students? Yeah, 12 students, and you were doing live Skype sessions with them and giving lectures and then reviewing their portfolios. It was a great program that worked out really well.
From the instructor side, it was really great to be able to connect with all these people on the screen. From the instructor side, it's always a battle. Like, am I really getting their attention? Or are they really kind of listening? Or are they glazing over like all you guys are right now? Thank you. Or are they really into it? And but the nice thing is that it's been very consistent, and everybody's been very complimentary. Said they really got a lot out of it, and it was fun for me to be able to just go really in depth into what it is to be an animator, an actor with a pencil or a mouse.
I bet, Tony. So
you're welcome to take the course, Tom, or you can watch it online.
Okay, so Hannah, back up to you. I mean, let's talk about your school experience. I want to hear. We're going to talk about the negatives now. All right, so what went wrong? Okay, we're just going to leave it that basic because something always goes wrong. And what were your biggest disappointments about your school experience?
All of it. No.
Wow.
I'm very anti art schools. I'm anti most schools. I mean, art school is better than liberal arts school, but it's so expensive, and you're just betting against yourself, and it's so not lucrative to start animation.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see a return on that for so long in terms of money. So they sell you dreams, and then they charge you like your future for them. So it's pretty dark. I saw a lot of people go through some pretty hard times. I was a little bit luckier. In terms
even though
of
you were feigning all the time.
Okay, well, I was on 3 productions in 1 year, and one of them I was the producer, production coordinator of the stop motion film, and a lot of us ended up in the hospital. Well, maybe 3 of us ended up in the hospital. So it was a really stressful production.
Yeah, Tom.
She just got nasty with me. She just
shut you down.
No, that's just
you don't know me.
Head bobble.
I don't faint easy. It takes a lot to take me down. All right. So
there was a lot involved in terms of stress. Like, sometimes you bite off more than you can chew because there's a lot of things going on sometimes, and it can tempt you into overdoing it.
We've all been there. All right, Nicole, are you feeling similar or what?
Yes and no. The first time I went to school, again, it was a for-profit school. They didn't care about me. They cared that they got my my tuition. And the thing was, it was like not the teachers at all, but the school itself. They absolutely sell you dreams, and tell you that there's so many jobs out there, and 80% of our students get jobs. They don't tell you that they're also including McDonald's in that 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah, and unfortunately, when we got into that school, the first thing they said was, okay, only, the teacher, who was very realistic, was like, only two of you are going to get jobs, only one of you is going to like it, be better than the person next to you, which made it very ferocious and very animalistic. Like, we didn't get along well, we didn't collaborate, we all just competed against each other. And now none of us speak to each other. So that was not a great environment. But now it's the complete opposite at the school I'm at now. It's not a for-profit school. It's government funded, so they couldn't care less about our money because they're going to get money anyway. Whether I'm there or not, the government.
Canada. I love you.
Here.
They just make money in Canada. I don't know what.
Look at that. They love each other, and no wonder they get free stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about the school. Like, because we have a lot of groups. We all get together. We have fun together. We collaborate. It was so much cheaper. Like, it's $3,000 a year, or a little bit, around that ballpark, which is fantastic. And then I'm not even paying that. Like, they're paying fee there.
It's practically free already, and then they make it free.
Yeah, and then on top of it, she gets paid, so she's actually making money going to school. That's the amazing thing.
I'm starting to think that in Canada you can eat an ice cream and lose weight. That happens.
Yeah,
Canada.
I think it is. It's a magical place where everything's pink and there's unicorns prancing around.
But I've noticed the difference, and I don't know if it's because of my accumulative amount of time in school, or if it's the amount of effort I put in. I'm not quite sure what it is. But the first time I came out of school, I had one option, and that was the military internship. But now I'm graduating in a week, and I actually have the problem that I have a number of options in front of me.
Yeah.
Which one to pick, which one's the best for my career. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's a good problem to have. So we have career counselors, and we have the teachers to talk to. I have a great amount of reference letters that they did up for us, and it's just a fantastic environment. And I would tell anybody, if you're in Canada, if you're near New Brunswick, go to the College of Graphic Design, because it's been all the difference. I couldn't say go enough, and I hated school when I came out the first time, and I was so against it. I was just like Hannah, that was such a waste of money and a waste of time. But now I'm on the happy end. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. Let me do it again.
Wow, that kind of never happens. All right, well, I'm glad we had one positive experience. Now, let's jump over to Isaac. Let's hear your story and what went wrong.
Yeah, well, mine was relatively good. I was only in for 3 semesters, but the things that I got frustrated with was, I guess, the professor's lack of expectations of students. And it didn't seem like a lot of students were expected to excel. It was more like, here's the project, do it, we'll grade you on it. If it's good, good. If not, you'll still get a passing grade. And so that resulted in me seeing senior projects that were much, much worse than my freshman project, which really frustrated me. Because I come in and I'm working really hard on my freshman project, and I did 2 minutes of animation in 3 weeks, and that was like my whole short film, and just busting my butt trying to get this thing done. And I had juniors coming up to me trying to recruit me for their senior film the next year, and then I see these seniors that are about to graduate and go off into the workforce saying that they want to work for Disney that have this 3-year-old looking drawing. And so, I mean, I was just, it was
They
so
didn't go to
frustrating.
Disney, obviously.
No, they didn't.
Right?
I've tried to find that person and see where they are, and I can't find them anywhere.
They're in a
So
box.
yeah, I probably. I have no
Oh,
idea what was
forever.
going on. But yeah, that was my frustration. But at that point, they weren't requesting portfolios and they weren't doing portfolio reviews in order to get into the program. Now they are, so I think that they're expecting more of students. It doesn't mean that students aren't doing much better work, obviously, because that's always up to the student. But I try and follow them as much as I can. They have their own Vimeo page, and so I try and check up on them just to see what kind of work they're turning out now. And so that was probably the thing that was most disappointing to me, was seeing that other students were not putting in the work that I thought that they should be putting in, because I was putting that work in.
You want everybody to be at that high level of really pushing themselves, because it helps you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when you're surrounded by people that are striving for the utmost, it brings you up, it pulls you up too.
It's motivation. Yeah, that motivation.
You're doing all
rubs
the work
off.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, on my own projects, I didn't get to do a whole lot with other students. I didn't make it that far.
Yeah. All right, Shane, what's your experience? I mean, it sounds like for the most part you're pretty happy with your school experience.
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, I was happy with both my BFA and my MFA experience. But probably the one thing that I learned, and we touched about on it a little bit, and even Isaac was kind of hitting at it, is a lot of people think, oh, once I go through the program, I get the diploma, that's my ticket to my job. And that's not the case. The case is you're there to learn to be the best you can be. And even if it's beyond what your teachers are teaching you, you need to push yourself to the point where you will get that job.
Yep.
And I
Nice.
learned that, probably junior year of at CCAD. Like, I just need to figure out what path I need to take to get the job, even if it's beyond the classes and what I'm learning in the classes. And so that's one of the reasons why I went on to get my master's degree. And then the whole networking, I was always told network, and I never understood what network meant. I didn't understand it until later on, and during our last podcast, I think Tony talked about being relationships, and that's like, to me, that's a far better word than networking. It's creating relationships with other artists that are your friends and other artists in the industry that can help you get in, or even, when the job comes up, they'll go, oh, hey, I know Isaac, I'm going to throw him a bone and see if he's looking for work or whatever. And that's such an important thing to learn within the schooling. It's like I said, you don't want to go in thinking, oh, once I graduate, I'm good. You have to go in knowing I need to do as much as I can to get to the point where I can get a job in the industry.
Preach
And
it, brother.
I think so too, and I think relationships are something that we don't talk about enough, I guess. But it is, I mean, Tom and I know this. You guys have all said it already too. But I would say for myself personally, 95% of every job, maybe 100% of every job that I've ever gotten in this industry was because of a relationship that I had. I knew somebody that was hiring, somebody recommended me, somebody gave me a call at the right time, or I knew somebody to go to ask about a job that gave me a heads up or a leg up in some way. It's huge, and I think that's probably, it's worth saying that that's probably a slight pro on the side of brick and mortar schools, that you get a little bit deeper quality relationships with your fellow students, and even
I would
teachers.
say slightly even, Tony. I'd say that's a pretty major one. I think it tends to be like almost 80% of
Well,
what you get out of school.
That's true, and why is that? Because you're in the trenches with those other students. You're probably living in the dorms with them. You're cooking meals together. You're going out on the weekends. It's not just an online school where you're in a chat room every once in a while, or or a Facebook page, and you're sharing this and that every once in a while. You're living life together, and you all have the same goals and passions. And there's nothing like that. I mean, that's, to me, when I think back to our time at Cal Arts, Tom. It's the best thing that I can remember. I felt alive for the first time in my life. I felt like who I was supposed to be, who I wanted to be. Not in high school, I didn't feel that way. Not in junior high and elementary school, but when I got to Cal Arts and I was around like-minded students that had the same passions and loves, I didn't care about sleep as much. I didn't care about money as much. I didn't care about what I was eating as much. What I cared about was learning, and growing with these guys and girls.
Tony, you
Awesome.
really, Tony, I will say you did blossom in CalArts.
I did.
I'm
I did.
really
I
proud of you.
grew a couple
And
inches.
in
and
high
my
school,
teeth
you
got
were
white.
you were quite awkward, and you were struggling. And I just was happy to see that for you. Yeah, you came
Thank
a
you.
long way.
Thank you for
So,
mentoring me.
yeah, I tried to help. I tried, like, please, girls, just talk to him too. Anyway, uh, we got into some good stuff there, guys, and I love that. And we are gonna have to wrap up pretty soon, but I do
Oh
want to
wait,
say,
I got
okay,
something. I want to follow up with a little bit
oh,
with something
go
really
ahead.
quick. For those that had some regrets, if you look back at the younger version of you before you picked the route that you just talked about, that you just went on for your school, is there something you would tell that younger you, give them some kind of advice or questions that they should have asked before they started at that university or going down that road? Let's start with you, Nicole.
I have all kinds of advice for younger me. One of the things I think I actually, because I chose the school I chose and it was such a negative experience the first time, I actually did a lot of my learning on online classes. Like I was on digital tutors every night, and that's how I got all the skills that I really needed to do, because we had all 2D teachers on a 3D person. I was doing most of my 3D learning online. So I could go back and tell myself, don't spend $40,000-$50,000 to go to the school for 2 years. Spend $100 a year or $300 a year. Do that online thing first. And I could have done all that. I could have done that in high school, and then gone to a better school, which like I am in now. I would still have those same skills. I wouldn't have the relationships I have, but I could still have the same skills that I have now and get those relationships in the school I'm in now. So
Yeah.
it's definitely,
Or even on the job, you could get the job and then make relationships too.
yeah. And
So,
Yeah, you feel like that would have put you ahead of things, right?
yeah, like I really think I could have gotten what I have now for my technical skills online. I could have got it for free. There's YouTube videos. I'm really big into Udemy. Um, all that could be done at any age, and I waited until I got to college. I barely used a computer, and then I got there. I was so far behind. It was not a good experience, not a good school. So if I could just do it all over, take those classes, use YouTube in high school, wait, go to college when you're a little bit older and a little bit when it's a little bit cheaper.
Right.
Nicole, that's awesome. And you're kind of backing up some of what Shane said, which is kind of empowering yourself to not just say, the teacher's got to teach me, and until then, I'm just going to sit here like a vegetable. I'm going to find ways and things that I'm missing. And heck, with the internet, man, and Google, you can search this stuff out. It's all out there. This Skype that we're doing right now is going to be podcasts. Everybody should listen to it and be listening and going, dude, I'm going to change the way I'm approaching art school. Hannah,
The thing I would have said, though, is also ask to see some of the graduates' work.
Yep.
People who have graduated from that school, I want to see their work. And it's not just the best two. I want to see an entire class. I want to see what the average person is coming out of there with.
Good point. Nice. We're fixing art schools tonight. Go ahead, Hannah. Do it.
All right, so there are probably 4 things I would have told myself. The first one would have been make sure that you're doing life drawings and zoo drawings before you even apply, because then you're already setting yourself up for success. I saw so many students getting into the Art Institute who didn't know how to draw yet, and it put them so far behind everyone else. And I just thought, if you just go to the zoo every weekend for a year, just think how incredible your drawing skills will be, and you'll be so ready.
And I just want to throw it here for the listeners. There's no shortcut to that. The only way to get better is time,
Right.
and and of course practice. So, yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And I would definitely have done a little bit more networking ahead of time by going to conventions like CTN or Comic-Con. I'd never gone to one of those before I graduated, and I didn't know how many resources there actually are out there, how many people you can talk to, and how many friends you can make. Another thing that's huge is, and this is personal to me, but I would have probably gone to Gobelins. I would have gone to a school in France. They have a killer selection of schools right now for like at a fraction of the price of a university here.
Many
like
people say go blonde
Canada.
too, just so you know. Many people like to say go blonde, and when they talk about the French school, go blonde.
I'd like to go blonde.
Nicole's
Anyway.
go blonde.
Yeah. So those are awesome. Was that 2 or 3?
I think that was 3. I think the 4th one is definitely also to have self-confidence, because in terms of networking, when I was in the Art Institute, they did push networking really hard. They used to say it's a very small pond and you're going to run into the same fish over and over again. So you have to be very nice to everyone. But I also heard that kind of perverted into, if you don't do what I say, I will ruin your chances for any work in the industry.
Ouch.
And and what you need to know is people who say that kind of stuff, they're usually universally hated by the industry. So a good rule of thumb is just to be nice, know when to say no to someone, even if it's a teacher who's pushing you too far. Just know your limits and don't be afraid to make mistakes, take a breath, and get better, because making mistakes is half of it. It's really healthy and it's good for you.
Man, that's huge. That's
Wow.
great.
That was a great book. You need to write that book.
Isaac, I want to hear yours. What would you tell the old you?
Yeah. When I was younger, my first animation was a stop motion animation with a recording camera. I wish I never would have stopped doing that. Like, I would do a couple and then I'd move on to my next thing. But I love those so much. I wish I never would have stopped that. If I would have done those constantly, man, I would be so far ahead. And those were when I was like 8 years old. And like my first computer animation was on Paint and Windows Movie Maker. And like I don't know how I came up with it, but I just figured out how to do it. And like, I wish I never would have stopped experimenting, and I never would have stopped drawing. Those are the 2 things that would have put me so far ahead of where I am now. And I mean, as far as like learning how to draw, I always got those books, the here's how you draw this character book, the one that's like circle, 2 lines, and then the full-fledged character. They're terrible, but I mean, if I found a good one, like, follow the steps. I never followed the steps. I always just drew the final picture. And so I never learned how to draw consistently. I just learned how to draw what I saw once and draw it well. Yeah, it was terrible. And so I think those are the things that I would have told myself is don't stop experimenting, follow the steps, learn how to draw, and draw every single day.
But what about that? I mean, that's good advice for really anyone. But on the college, the art college side of what we're talking about, is there questions that you would have wished the younger you asked about the college choices that you were making specifically?
Yeah, I think that I would have really looked into what it was that I was going to be able to do coming out of college. Like, what is the reality that I'll have a job doing art after I graduate from this program? Like, am I going to go and work at McDonald's afterwards? Or am I going to go and be able to show Disney, hey, here's some of my work. What can I do with this? What can I make it do to make it better? Will you give me a job now? Or what is it that I need to do? And figure out how the school would help me get to that point before walking up to Disney and asking them.
Yeah. You know, I will say this for the listeners, that it is hard. I mean, coming out of high school, every counselor that you talk to has no idea what animation's about. They can't lead you or guide you. Even your art teachers, most of the time, they're fine artists or whatever. They don't know how to guide you and lead you. Usually they're distracting you. They're telling you to go a different direction. So you kind of are on your own. Your parents probably can't help. They're not watching cartoons with you. Now, fortunately, here's the other side of that, is that you have the internet. We didn't have that, Tony and I at least, and maybe some of you guys, but Tony and I especially didn't have that. We had to go to the library. We had to find out and read books and articles in the newspaper. Yeah, and So I will say that there is searches you can do and do those searches. I mean, sometimes we all follow artists. So I'm talking to the younger crowd now that are in high school, but all those artists that you follow, just read little articles and interviews with them. They'll say eventually what school they went to, and start writing that down. This guy went here. This girl went here. These are all people I look up to, and you're going to start hearing those same schools over and over again, the good ones. So obviously, if you do a search, most of the Disney guys and stuff like that, especially our generation, they all went to CalArts, right? So you've heard of that one, and you're probably going, well, I can't afford the big ones. I can't afford the Ringling. I can't afford CalArts. I can't. So maybe some of those are off your list right away. And you don't want to move to Canada where it's all milk and honey. But
who doesn't
have to?
Come on.
But there are those secondary schools, and maybe it is a CCAD, maybe it's a that they're just not that top 5 maybe, but they're within the top 10 or 20, and they're out there, Lipscomb University. And so you're going to start finding those and start hearing of those, and just do that research, and you'll find them. So Shane, sorry, I want to hear what you have to say. How are you going to fix art schools?
Well, I think one of the main things is the liberal art credits that you have to take even to get your fine arts degree. Take them at a community college over the summer at a much cheaper school. They're just credits that you're trying to get out of the way to graduate anyway. Like public speaking and English, whatever. I think that's a big one, because a lot of kids would take them at the fine arts school knowing that, well, this is what my schedule has to be, so I'm taking them here. And then, I mean, really, what I had said before was just knowing that you are kind of the dictator of where you're going to go once you graduate. You can't rely on just your professors. Obviously, hopefully, they will be there and they'll guide you, they'll step in, they'll teach you a lot. But ultimately, you're responsible for once you graduate. I can count maybe on one hand how many times somebody said, "Where'd you go to school?" Most of the time, it's they see my work or I present a portfolio. They could care less if it was Timbuktu University. They don't care. But if I know what I'm doing and I have the work to prove it, then that's all that matters.
Awesome. That's a great ending. But go ahead, Nicole. Looks like you want to add something.
Yeah, there's something about when you talk about the more expensive schools, you also need to do your research, because I found out years later that Sheridan is the big school here in Canada. That's where Disney goes. They pick people out of the graduating class there, and they actually come visit. It was the same price as the college we went to here in New Brunswick, where there is no industry, nobody is looking at us. So I could have had the big school. I could have jump started my career. But I just said, oh, well, it's a big school. It's going to be too expensive, not realizing it was the exact same price.
Not realizing it was Canada, and it only cost $250 per semester.
Everything is cheap and free in Canada.
Yeah.
For that loud and clear tonight.
But hey, that's a great thing to say, though. I mean, that does apply. I was being funny, but it does apply to the U.S. too, of course. There's ways in. I mean, like if you're that rare artist that actually has good grades in high school, man, the doors open up. The scholarships just open up, and they just start throwing money at you. Now, obviously, Tony and I
throw in one thing too for the listeners out there, because I haven't really heard anybody say it here, but actually Isaac touched on it a little bit, I think. But one of the most important things I think that students going into college or looking at a brick and mortar college should really be asking of the school and looking into is what are their job placement, stats? How many kids get jobs? What are the connections that the school has to big studios? Some of the colleges, at least, and Shane knows this from UCLA, and we know this from CalArts. Some of the local colleges here in California have, producers shows where they have an evening one night at the end of the year where all the student work is shown, and they invite all the industry leaders and executives, people that hire. And for CalArts specifically, I just went to the producer show this year. There was it was like a mass job fair at the end of the producer show after the theater let out. There was, executives from Disney TV and Pixar and all this, chasing down students just to get an interview with them or talk to them before they got snatched up somewhere. That's CalArts. Now that's pretty phenomenal.
That only happens at CalArts. Let's put it that way too.
Well, yeah,
okay.
and it's hugely expensive, and you kind of get that for the price, but you do that knowing you're going into it for, hey, there's a strong likelihood I may pay a really top dollar for this college, but if it has a strong likelihood that I can shine pretty brightly at the end of my time here in school and get a job out of it, that might be worth it if you know that school up front has those kind of connections and relationships that they might be able to access you or help you get into a studio that you want to get into.
And I'll jump in there too, because we touched a little bit on going to schools that are outside of the main industry, which is LA, right? And I'm teaching at Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee, so I'm definitely in that group, right, where we're far away from the main industry. All of you guys, you went to schools, except for your UCLA experience, Shane, but all the rest of you were far away from pretty much the main industry, I would say. So, I'm instigating something where we're gonna do a week in California. I'm gonna take all my students there. We're gonna do a field trip. We're gonna go I got Butch Hartman giving us a tour of Nickelodeon. How cool is that?
What?
He agreed to that. Thank you, Butch.
I understand that Tony Bancroft's on your schedule to visit too.
Yeah, we're gonna have Tony's gonna make us pancake breakfast, and we're gonna go to your house. That's part of the schedule.
Hey, I didn't agree to that.
No, but we're gonna go to a few different studios, and we're gonna go to an LA Film Festival, and I'm gonna put on a couple panels there. I'm gonna bring in even more pros, and so that kind of thing is obviously I'm selling Lipscomb pretty hard right now, but that goes along with what Tony's saying is are they doing things at that school to encourage you? And I don't know if I want to say encourage you to move to California, but at the very least get tapped into the industry, even if you're in Timbuktu.
Well, and even besides those kind of things, do they even have a portfolio class? Do they talk about what should be in a portfolio? Because what we haven't said here tonight, but is true that we all know, is that it's not the degrees, it's the portfolio that's going to get you a job. So if that's really the 1 + 1 = 2 formula of how to get a job, then college should have courses in portfolio reviewing and building your portfolio, or at least have that as part of each one of their classes, that they're designing assignments so that it could be good and right for your portfolio, for you specifically, so that when you finish your college program, you got a stellar portfolio, and that you feel confident about that portfolio because you've learned about what needs to go into it. That is pretty darn huge that colleges should be doing. So there are certain responsibilities that I think colleges need to have that maybe haven't, but also for the students out there, ask, check it out, see if they are doing those sorts of things and if they have those classes and connections to the industry before you make your choice.
What do you guys think? Anything we need to add to this?
Do we fix them? Do we fix art schools?
I think they're pretty good now.
Yeah, they're all fixed up.
Yep.
You just need to listen. And let's move to Canada. I'll tell you, if Glenn Key moves there, BBB, I mentioned him, then we're all going.
Got Glenn Keane.
Yeah.
Well, this was good fun, guys. We really enjoyed. Thank you for your time, and it is a late night here as we record this. So you guys, many of you are staying up way past my bedtime. I know that, probably past your own.
Shane looks like The Walking Dead. He is asleep. I can't even see his eyes anymore.
Tired guy.
Man.
Get some sleep, you guys, and thank you guys and you know what, Tom? We got to throw it out to these guys for our sign-offs. Thing.
Yeah, I want to see it. So how do we sign off, guys? Do we say what?
Animate from the heart.
From the heart. That was so hard.
Golly.
Hannah, did you even say anything? I didn't even hear it.
I lip synced.
Eat lettuce daily.
Yeah, that was really lame. It was like you'd never heard a podcast that we put on before, ever. Wow.
Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll talk to you guys real soon, okay, when we can reconnect again. And
Thank
thanks
you,
for supporting
Tony.
us on Patreon. Tom, it was good to see you tonight also. And you know you smell less when you're not in the same room with me.
Oh, I love it too. I love it too. So everybody, sleep tight tonight, and we'll fix art schools on part 3. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.